I feel very excited and yet a little bit nervous about doing this web series, I guess if you want to call it that, or YouTube postings. Um, for a long time, people have asked me to share my story and, the experiences that I'd gone through in my life. And for so long, I resisted that, and I think I resisted that because I think that's what I was trying to do my whole life, really, was to get out of my story. And yet people were saying, tell your story. And there were times in my life where the more I told my story, the more I started to believe it. And so it really hasn't been until the last few years of my life that I've really started to question that story. And yet something in me has called me to share that as I go through this journey. One of the key things that really inspired me is that I'm an average person like anybody else out there. And I know that most of my life I felt lost or alone and just really just kind of hollow and empty, even though everything around me, there were things around me to fill my time, my energy. I have great kids, a great husband, but yet there was, pretty much everything in my life seemed to be going right. And you would think that I was just super happy, but the reality of the situation was I felt very lost and hollow. And for years I had been following this formula that if I do the right thing, I'll be happy. And I just kept going and going and moving forward with that idea and that philosophy that that's what was going to bring me happiness. But it turned out that it was really, for me, driving me more to insanity. And it's not that I'm here to in any way criticize anybody's path, because that's not my purpose for doing this. And I hope that by doing this, that if anything, it helps those who are on a path, that it can really enrich in that path for them and make it more powerful for them as they go. But I think that the biggest thing for me was just that I had to realize that this is such a personal journey, and every person has to stop at some point in their life and say, gosh, am I really living for other people? Am I doing things just for others' love or approval or acceptance, or just so I can feel good about myself? And I realized, as I started to kind of, wake up and become aware of what was happening in my life, that I really started to see and feel the power of my story. Not so much the events of it, but what it taught me and how it molded me. And so what inspired me to do this series, or these little clips for you, is I don't know everything about this journey. I'm sure anyone will say that to you, but I used to think that I had to have this solid platform to get up in front of you and say, this is what makes me important, and this is what makes me knowledgeable enough for you to listen to me. Well, you don't have to listen to me, because I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm learning as I go. And I wanted to share that journey as I go, because I know I'm not the only average Joe or Jane out there who's searching for something greater than myself. It's almost not so much searching for something outside myself, but answering the call to that yearning that I've always had within me that said, you know what, you're bigger than this. As a matter of fact, you're so big, it's almost frightening to you. And so for me, my ego has gotten really inflated, thinking that it has to protect me from what really is the truth about who I am. And so that is my hope for this time with you, is that you can relate to what I'm going through. And I hope that at some point a dialogue can go on. Maybe you can email questions to me, and we can work through this process together. But as I feel like I want to, I'll get on here and I'll share clips with you. I'll share things I'm going through. I'm going to share those dark sides of myself, the good sides of myself. It's a no-holds-barred thing for me. And for me to even be in front of this camera is shattering my story, that I wasn't good enough, or that I had to look a certain way to be able to sit here in front of you and tell you how to live a better life. And so with that said, I have titled this series, or called this project of mine, A Woman's Evolution. And if you take the first letter of each of those words, they spell awe, because this whole experience has really left me in awe of just the awareness, the change, my shift in consciousness, my vibration, and just the fact that for me it's like stepping outside of myself to see who really is underneath the shell. And so that's why I've titled this Awe-Inspiring the World. And so this is not just about me. This is about every average person's journey to self-discovery, self-remembering, and I am so grateful to be able to do this. So thank you for taking the time to listen, and namaste.